yes, I know the Iron Sheik beat Backlund, but
Right.
I think they didn't want Hulk to beat Backlund.
Right.
Because there's a chance, hey, what if we're wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What if I like it, but they hate it? I don't want to kill the business and kill Backlund in the process. And I want to be respectful and do right by him because he's one of my dad's loyal soldiers, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, hey, we'll have this nasty heel, this foreign heel beat him because that's what, and I don't think people talk about this enough, but Kevin Sullivan pointed it out. I actually watched the UFC with him years ago. And whenever you're watching a UFC, they'll do that whole tale of the tape. And so they'll show you, here's how old they are. Here's their record. Here's their height. Here's their weight. Here's their reach. Maybe they'll tell you their trainer, their hometown, all that sort of shit. What their primary discipline or background is, all that sort of stuff. But they would also include their country's flag because he was trying to show, Dana White was, that this is a global sport.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of Brazilians in early UFC, and now we've seen, Russia and Europe, and I mean, just all over. It's really, really grown. But that was one of the hallmarks of Vince's father's promoting. And I will be honest, that predates my fandom. So I wasn't really in tune with that. Mm-hmm. When I was watching it with Sullivan, he said, boy, they're just borrowing from Vince Sr. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, he had an Italian champion for all the Italians, and he had a Puerto Rican champion for all the Puerto Ricans, had a Polish. I mean, and I was like, wow, when you really go through it, he really did. I mean, even like the original Hulk Hogan name, he was supposed to be his Irish wrestler. I was fascinated by that because it predates my fandom, and it's like, wow, he's on to something. So leaning into that nationality thing, I'm sure that's when Vince Jr., not really Jr., but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
When Vincent Kennedy McMahon took over, he was like, all right, we'll have our all-American boy lose to this foreign heel. And we'll say he's from Iran. Mm-hmm. He was, but you've got all the controversy surrounding that. And okay, now we need a new American hero. That's going to be Hulk Hogan.
Mm.
The transition and what a risk it was.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Well, you know what? Every time you book something, it's a risk.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, different levels of risk, but you take a risk that, hey, are people going to buy it? Is it good? Is it good going forward? Is it a good story? Should we stop it? I mean, it's just, you may out there as a Twitter idiot be out there, and
a twittiot.
Yeah. Very good. Twittiot. And second guess booking. But you ain't the only one. The people that book second guess it as well.
Right.
They do. So, okay. Bob Backlund just beat, Ken Patera, who is slowly making his way down the steps. And Ken Patera's not done. 6.5 minutes of really a bad match, but it was great to see Ken Patera put on the bear hug. Love a freaking bear hug.
Scrooge McSuck recapped this match online.
Who did?
Scrooge McSuck.
Okay. I know he does.
He says, why the hell are these two not a battle royal or not a Royal Rumble match? Bob Backlund is in decent shape for his age, but Ken Patera looks like hell. Yeah. I would much rather see Patera recreate his infamous McDonald's incident. Yeah. Take a look at Patera's layering of attire, a t-shirt, then a singlet, then a pair of fat guy shorts. For a second, I thought it was suspenders, but nope. It's his old school ring attire. Backlund uses a speed advantage to avoid Patera. Write your own joke with that one. Backlund continues to work his goofy style, no doubt thrilling a modern day Dave Meltzer. They lock knuckles with the advantage going to Patera. Backlund escapes, finds himself trapped in a bear hug. I almost expected a Northern Lights suplex. They go 6 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah. So who was this again that criticized?
Scrooge McSuck.
Yeah. Scrooge, what the fuck have you ever done in wrestling? That's my question. I'll answer it for you. Not a fucking thing.
I love you.
All right, let's track these two guys.
Yeah, sure. Let's do a little commentary.
Well, if we're gonna shoot, Vic, we can shoot. No, he's crazy in a good way.
Crazy like a fox.
Crazy, and he wants people to know the president.
He does, and that's about education.
Hey, Bob. Bob, if you don't mind, man, I have to tell you. Oh, and Bob, here's a mic for you. We've known each other a long time. Amazing how seemingly polar opposite people just bonded. You really seem to take to these people, and they took to you.
This is good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
There we go. Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you right there. That
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, he's doing it.
Yes, we can.
How about you? Can you hear me?
This is for the people at home, Bob Backlund. This is for the people
This
at
is
home.
for you.
Yeah.
You know what? Next time I come here, I'm gonna clean up your language.
Whoa.
Hey, Bob, don't exacerbate me.
Wow, Bob Backlund.
Yeah, I told you, he's batshit crazy. Can I say that on TV?
Sure you can.
It's pay-per-view, right? Yeah.
This is just
Hey, so a minute ago you said, "Hey, Scrooge McSuck, what have you ever done in wrestling?"
Mm-hmm.
I defended our, maybe sometimes your, but I'm going to round up and say our friend Eric Bischoff.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as you know, he, like others, has been critical of stuff that's happened in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, when someone was sort of slagging on Eric, I said, I see this sort of criticism for Eric all the time, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, who's better qualified to discuss being a challenger brand for WWE and what worked and what didn't than Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who never did any of it. Watch this clip from Steve Martin's 1992 film Leap of Faith, as I think this character does a better job explaining than I possibly could. And so there were a bunch of comments underneath that, and it created a big discussion and back and forth. But one of the things that happened is people said that I had become a grifter like him. And I said, "Hey, Paul, Google the word and then come back and tell me who I committed fraud against or swindled out of money." My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You know exactly what I mean." And I said, no, I don't. Who did I swindle out of money? And what's that word? That's what that word means. So defend it or delete it, you coward.
Mm-hmm.
And Conan jumped in and said, "FYI, Conrad, grifter is one of those cute buzzwords for these wrestling fanboy experts like to use on anyone that is considered an old head, which is being used incorrectly here. Anyways, they are arguing with someone who did something in the biz versus simp fans' opinions." And Steve Freedom says, "What has Conrad done for the business other than marry into the Flair family and kiss Tony's ass? If not for that, he would be an overweight real estate agent."
Mm-hmm.
And I replied and said, "Never have I ever been a real estate agent, but I did bring Bruce and Tony back into wrestling, create Starrcade, help make All In a destination, announce the kickoff of AEW, do international podcast tours, get a show on WWE Network, and run the second largest independent show of all time before going in the Hall of Fame last year. Doing my best to contribute as my part-time gig. What have you done in wrestling, pal? I'll hang up and listen. And for the record, I didn't marry into her family. She married into mine. Quote, she used to be Ric Flair's daughter, but now she's Conrad Thompson's wife," said Ricky Morton. Have a nice weekend. And it got a little traction. And some of the boys like JBL and Conan and Eric Bischoff and Bully Ray, they had a blast at me just ethering motherfuckers. But it just makes me think of you whenever I see that. It's like, I don't even know a Steve Freedom. But Steve Freedom sure does think he knows a lot about me. He said I'm an overweight real estate agent. I've never sold a house. I mean, I've sold my own personal house, but you know what I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?